My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance.
For your free quote, go to SelectQuote.com. SelectQuote.com. That's SelectQuote.com.
SelectQuote. We shop. You save. Full details on example policies at SelectQuote.com/commercials.
This Mother's Day, treat mom to healthy, glowing skin with Osea's limited edition skincare sets. Osea has been making clean, seaweed-infused products for nearly 30 years. Their advanced eye care duo brightens and firms skin around your eyes, while the Golden Glow Body Trio nourishes and smooths skin all over. They both come in giftable boxes with savings up to $46 and free shipping for a limited time. Go to OSEAMalibu.com and use code MOM for 10% off your first order site-wide.
Educate, empower, enable, impact. Thank you for tuning in to That Will Never Work podcast, where we share inspiring information and personal experiences related to business and the entrepreneurial journey from those who are leaders in their respective field. Now, here's your host, author and business coach, Maurice.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for tuning in today. I have such a special guest for you today. I don't know what to say about him. He was, per reading his bio, it says he was a slow learner. He said he couldn't run. His knees would collapse when he was running. And, he had a defect that created pressure in his head. He was losing his vision. His nose would bleed constantly. But here at That Will Never Work, we understand that we are overcomers of all those things, right? And, there are things where he talked about where he developed a chronic fatigue syndrome and he dropped out of school. But someone told him or mentored him and said to him, you're going to get out of this. It was his uncle who took him underneath his wing, y'all. And he was able to take that blueprint and overcompensated with optimism, and he was able to buy his first investment property at the age of 19. He truly is one that has not allowed misfortune to overtake his life. We here at That Will Never Work, we honor that, we applaud that, and we are very honored to have Mr. Daniel with us today. Thank you very much, Daniel, for coming in on the show today, man.
Mate, my pleasure. It's an honor to be here with you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So, Daniel, we had a great conversation right before the show. Family man, very interesting, to hear your story. So let me ask this. And I explained some of your backstory, and one of the questions that you would like to answer is, why do 99% of people quit on their goals within 19 days? Because you had other things that could have made you stop, just life experiences. But something as little as 19 days, why do 99% of people quit?
Well, it's January 19 today.
I know, right?
and tomorrow is known as Quitter's Day. Mm-hmm. And there's a company called Strava, and they analyze the workouts of more than 90 million people. And they discovered that the majority of the population quit before the second Friday of the new year. And the reason why I believe people quit is because they lack in 4 key areas. The first one is they don't have the desire. When I went through my personal challenges, my desire was just to breathe, was to be able to see, was to be able to walk properly. And I had a burning desire. These other kids would run faster than me. I was like Forrest Gump. My legs were falling off. And I just wanted to keep up with everybody else. And when I was in class, I couldn't read properly. I couldn't see properly. And I just wanted to keep up with everybody else. So for me, it was that level of desire. And I think the first challenge we see today is people just don't want things bad enough. I'm 43 this year, and when I grew up, I remember buying my first Transformer. You know what Transformers are? I've seen them on your Facebook page. And I had to put these Transformers on. There we go. I had to put these Transformers on lay-by. And lay-by was like you paid off like 50 cents a week for like half a year. And you'd go to the toy shop, you'd pay off your 50 cents. Once you paid it off, then you got it. So we used to have to pay for everything in advance. But today we have this credit card generation where you can have the Louis Vuitton handbag, you can have the Bentley, you can have whatever you want on credit today. You don't even have to work for it. So I think the first thing is desire. And then secondly, people don't make the decision. So essentially what happens is if you've made the decision to lose weight and you do, you made the decision. But if you wanted to lose weight and you didn't, you never made the decision. So people don't decide. And really what that comes back down to is they lack responsibility for their life. The third thing is they don't have discipline. And it's easy to start. It's like buying a house. It's easy to get a 5 or 10% deposit together. Right. $50,000. It's easy. But to be able to maintain that property and to pay off the mortgage for the next 30 years, that's hard. Right. So a lot of people don't have the discipline to do what is hard. And then fourthly is they don't have the determination to see things through the end. And this is why I believe majority of people will quit before tomorrow, which is the 20th of January. 99% will quit, and that makes it pretty exciting for the ones who don't.
So, as I'm listening to you, I think what happens, and especially in this microwave place, people don't like to feel the feeling rejected, of, hey, I'm trying to save this money, like you said, being disciplined, right? Or even the responsibility of trying to maintain this house or this car. Everything is so quick, if you will. It just seems like people get things done so they don't have to have that feeling of rejection. How do you think people need to get over something like that?
Well, I think something you mentioned just then is time. The most successful people have a very long time perspective. So when they make decisions, they aren't affected by stimulus response. Most people say, oh, look, the new iPhone, bang, I'll have it. Latest Louis Vuitton, bang, I'll have it. And they don't think about the consequences of what they're doing. Where successful people say, well, this is interesting, and I'm going to think about it. And they oftentimes don't make a decision for 20 or 30 days. And they think about all the pros and the cons, the consequences and sequences. And they look out into the future and say, if I make this choice today, how's that going to impact my life for the next 10 years? How does it impact my life for the next 20 years? Wow. So what they do is they stop, pause, and think. And that's where the power is. It's in the pause. So they use time to their advantage. And they also have a long time perspective where they say a small decision today is going to have consequences, and they consider all of the consequences. And they ask themselves, can I live with these consequences or not? Right. And so they decide based on time.
It's funny that you said that about time and taking the moment to think. I just read a book. I can't think of the name of the book. It's I think it was Unf Yourself. I believe that's what it was. I think it was that. And it talks about
the Mark Manson book.
Yes.
Right. Yourself.
And it talks about just changing your mindset and how the feeling mind and the thinking mind, how they work together, if you will. And a lot of times we deal things on impulse, feeling, and the mind makes you slow down and think things through. And sometimes they're not cohesive, right? And so listening to you talking about being successful, because in the book it talks about being successful and just how to pull back, if you will, just for a moment and to think the process through. And I think that's one of your, a good point that you're bringing up, just thinking the process through. One of your questions that you have are, what are the 3 killers of success? And I really think slowing things down could be one. But what are your 3 killers of success?
What I've seen over the years is the 3 biggest killers of success are fears, doubts, and limiting beliefs. And the reason why these are so powerful is that emotions are precognitive. You experience an emotion before you even have a thought. And so what happens is you experience emotion and then you have a thought. And if you can't control that emotion, you have an emotional hijack. And then you bypass rational thinking. And that's where most people are affected by stimulus response. Most people live their life with a knee-jerk reaction. Telephone rings, they pick it up. Somebody knocks on the door and they say, shit, it's the cops. And they run out the back door. Somebody calls their name and they turn around. So we've got to learn to control our emotions, and there's 5 pillars of success. The first one, so there's 5 pillars of emotional intelligence. The first pillar is self-awareness, and that's understanding why you think and feel the way that you do. However, if you can't name it, you can't tame it. So if you don't understand how you think and feel, if you don't understand your triggers, you can't control the emotions. So the first pillar is self-awareness. The second is self-regulation. Now, a lot of people, what happens is their fears get triggered and then they can't regulate the fear. And the worst part about that is one negative event during the day or one negative emotion can interrupt your performance for up to 4 hours. So during that 4-hour period, you don't make good decisions because your decisions determine your actions determine the result. But if you've been triggered emotionally, you're having an emotional hijack and you can't make good decisions. It's like people say, he's hot-headed, he's angry. You can't make good decisions when you're angry. Right. And if you're in the fight, flight or freeze response, you can't make a good decision. If you're sad or you're disappointed because you've just lost a sale, what happens is you try to go and make a revenge sale. I'm going to lower the price. Right. That's got some serious consequences. And then the third pillar of emotional intelligence is motivation. So if you can't control your emotions, then you lose your motivation. And motivation, we're not talking about jumping up and down. We're talking about the three core components of motivation. The middle one is extrinsic motivation, and that's really carrot and stick type motivation. So if you've set a goal to buy the Rolex and you don't achieve the Rolex, you might lose your confidence because you don't have the watch. But after you've had the watch and somebody steals it off your wrist, you lose your confidence and your money. So we're going to move to intrinsic motivation. And intrinsic motivation is really what makes your heart sing. And if you're living your life on purpose, if you're running a business which is an extension of your personality, then what happens is every single day you're doing what you love. So whether you make money or not on that day, you're still doing what you love. Right. So they're really the 3 core pillars of emotional intelligence. And this is why we say fears, doubts, and limiting beliefs are the biggest killers of success, because every time you experience a fear, it interrupts your performance for 4 hours. If you have a self-limiting belief like, I can't succeed, I'm an introvert, I can't speak on the stage, what will happen is you'll stop doing what you want to do. And if you doubt yourself, you start to compare yourself to others and you end up looking down on yourself. And whilst you're doing that, you're not taking action. So they're the 3 big killers.
So how do you think someone can really get over that? Because sometimes, it's really hard to read a self-help book and try to implement something like that, or just a general conversation. What, maybe a point or 2 that you might have for someone to just get over some of those little key points that could pull them back.
Well, I'm an author and I've written a number of books and I give my books away for free. And I know other authors who sell their books for $15. But I don't know if people stop and ask the question, why is it 10 or 15 bucks? Have you ever thought about that?
Not to ask anyone, no.
Well, I asked an author one day, I said, if you've got all these brilliant ideas in a book, why is the book $15? And he said, because even with all of that knowledge, you've still got to try to figure out how to implement it yourself. That's why the book's $15. So if somebody was struggling with fears, doubts, or limiting beliefs, what you've got to do is you've got to hire a coach. You've got to hire somebody who can coach you through the process of overcoming those fears. Because if you say to yourself, you know what it is, I think it's a fear of rejection. And you could spend a whole year working on that fear of rejection, but if you're working on the wrong fear, then at the end of the year, you're going to go around in a complete circle. Where a coach will look at you and say, well, based on what you're experiencing and based on what hundreds of other people are experiencing, it's not the fear of rejection. For you, you're afraid to lose your stability. You're afraid to leave your comfort zone. And so the coach will point it out, and the coach will say, if you fix that problem there, the problem will disappear in the next 7 days and you'll be fine. So my advice is get a coach. And that's what I did after I had all my learning disabilities. My parents said, well, we don't have the answer. Let's just go and get the experts. And so after 5 years of therapy for me, I turned out pretty good. But I could imagine what would have happened if we never seek the support of professionals. I would have definitely been left behind, 100%.
Wow. Daniel, thank you very much, man. I appreciate you coming on the show today. Do you have a free gift or anything you want to offer them, or a website you want everyone to follow you on? Let the audience know.
Absolutely. Well, I have a belief that 1 million business people woke up this morning feeling stuck and not knowing what to do next. And I've been in those shoes and I finally figured out how to solve the problem for myself. And over the last year, I've helped more than 2,500 business people solve that problem. And if you do have the opportunity, come and visit my website, Income Unleashed or Unleashed Masterclass, and come and learn how to overcome your fears, doubts, and limiting beliefs. And I believe it's so important because as a father, I'm teaching my children how to overcome their fears, doubts, and limiting beliefs. And it was because of what my mentor taught me. So I'm going to teach you how to overcome it, and it really does change your life really fast. So you're only born with 2 natural fears. The first fear, all parents know this, children are afraid of loud noises. The second fear is the fear of falling, and all the other fears are learned. So if we've learned all of those fears, we can then unlearn them. And that's what we have to do to become successful.
Well, I think unfortunately some of us still have those fears today. Because I'm too old. I don't want to fall.
No, that's a limiting belief. We call that one a bullshit story. Because the person who says I'm too old, once upon a time they said I was too young.
So, but like I said, thank you very much for, coming on today. I appreciate you. Everyone, please be sure to follow him on his website and ultimately get to all his social media accounts. Now, one last thing before we go. I ask every guest this question. What would you choose? This is a would you rather question. Would you rather pick 3 doors or a fork in the road? Which one would you rather choose?
Gee. As a former real estate agent, the more doors, the better. Well, if you come to Income Unleashed, we'll talk about the fork in the road. You give me the fork in the road.
Really? Okay. Really? That's interesting because a lot of people wanted more options by having the 3 doors. That was interesting. Very interesting. Cool.
Well,
cool.
If you use your mind correctly and you come to a fork in the road, you can use active imagination and you can project out into the future a month. You can go out a year and you can start to have a look at where your behaviors will take you. And I say if you take the fork on the left, you'll be left out. But if you take on the fork on the right and you make the right choices, you'll head in the right direction. So give me the fork.
Cool. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate it. Make sure everyone you tune into That Will Never Work podcast.
Thanks for listening. Find us on social media at Chisholm Group LLC and check back weekly for new episodes. Until next time, that will never work, or will it?
Wells Fargo presents one of the surest ways to grow your money. A Wells Fargo CD account, where you can earn a 5.00% annual percentage yield on an 11-month term with a minimum opening deposit of $5,000. Visit a Wells Fargo branch or wellsfargo.com/CD rates to open a CD account and start growing your savings with us.
Wells Fargo Bank, N.A., member FDIC.
Okay, round 2. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, oh, sorry. We were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right. ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.